Are in desperate financial trouble. You can't even afford to pay the salaries of public sector workers inside Gaza. Hamas is in a very weak position right now.
لكنها لن تستسلم. نعم، حماس تمر في ظروف صعبة، وهذا هو التقدير الخاطئ الذي ربما قدره نتنياهو، وبتشجيع ربما من أطراف هنا أو هناك. قدر أن حماس ضعيفة، أن حماس منهكة، أن غزة منهك شعبها بالحصار، فظن أنها لقمة سائغة، ففوجئ أن حماس وأهلنا في غزة أقوياء. الظروف الصعبة لا تدفعنا للانكسار. باختصار، حماس لا تقاتل عندما تكون لها حلفاء فقط، حماس تقاتل لأنها صاحبة قضية عادلة.
It just leaves me wondering.
5,000 feet's the best. We love it when we're sitting at 5,000 feet. You have more description. Plus, at 5,000 feet, I mean, I can tell you what type of shoes you're wearing from a mile away. I can tell you what type of clothes the person's wearing, like they have a beard, their hair color, and everything else. So they're very clear cameras on board. We have the IR infrared, which we can switch to automatically, and that'll pick up any heat signatures or cold signatures. I mean, if someone sits down, let's say, on a cold surface for a while and then gets up, you'll still see the heat from that person for a long time. It kind of looks like a white blossom just shining up into heaven. It's quite beautiful. I mean, heck, if you see somebody light up a cigarette on there, that's a huge beacon. You just see a very white glow coming from that area. And you're just on a preset path flying a circular orbit, watching them as they're smoking from about 2 to 3 miles away. You could be following them and they wouldn't hear you nor see you. On that specific mission of the night, I was checking routes for IEDs, looking for improvised explosive devices. And I would just be searching through the streets, a lot of side streets. I'll scan those roads, and it was night here in Vegas, and it was daytime there. But I came to a spot in the middle of the road that was darker than the road itself, which for the infrared camera means that darker images are showing as warmer. And it looked like there was a line going. Now, what they didn't know at the time, which they do know now, which is not classified really, is that when an individual digs up soil and tries to put a metallic object underneath the soil, that metallic object is showing a different temperature than the surrounding soil. Just looking around constantly, waiting for, a Humvee or one of the military vehicles to show up to detonate, and there's, 4 or 5 guys, and they're just sticking around. You can tell they're up to no good, that there's, an ambush. So we call it in, and then we're given all the clearances that are necessary, all the approvals and everything else. And then we did something called the Light of God. The Marines like to call it the Light of God. It's our laser targeting marker. We just send out a beam laser, and when the troops put on their night vision goggles, they'll just see this light that looks like it's coming from heaven, right on the spot, coming out of nowhere from the sky. It's quite beautiful. Then usually we have other outside observers that come into the GCS at this point, just to kind of watch and to monitor the situation. And the people who sit in the main building, they have projected images up on the wall of the camera feeds that are coming out, like everything up to the Pentagon can see what we're doing on this feed. And we fired off a Hellfire missile and got the target. I mean, it didn't quite stand into me that, hey, I just killed someone. My first time, that was within my first year there. It didn't quite impact. It was later on through a couple more missions that the dreams started.
What would it take for Hamas to sign on to a ceasefire now?
نريد وقف إطلاق النار.
We want a ceasefire as soon as possible, and that's parallel with the lifting of the siege on Gaza. This is the demand of the Gazan people. I call on the United Nations, Britain and the Americans to go to Gaza and ask them what they want. And I am prepared to accept 100% the answer of the people in Gaza.
What the Americans seem to be working on is a two-stage deal where there will be a truce, where the guns, the rockets will stop firing. And then there will be a serious negotiation about how to boost the Gazan economy, how to ease the blockade on Gaza, and to give the people of Gaza a better life. Are you prepared to accept a two-stage solution to this?
بصرف النظر عن الآليات.
Irrespective of the mechanism, what's important to me is that we should be a genuine guarantee to lift the siege on Gaza. We had promises in the past, but nothing was done. Gaza is a part of the Palestinian land. We have 1.8 million people living there. They need to live without the blockade. We need an airport, a port we want to open up to the world. We don't want to be controlled by a border crossing that makes Gaza the biggest prison in the world. People cannot go for medical treatment or to work. Why are the people of Gaza being punished with a slow death in the world's biggest prison? This is a crime. We want the end of the aggression, the halt of the aggression, and the end of the siege. And we will accept clear and clauses about the ceasefire. We are eager that the bloodshed should stop in Gaza.
You talk of resistance. How can any idea of resistance justify putting rockets in a school building?
هذا كذب صراحة.
This is a lie, frankly speaking. Let Israel show the rocket launching pads in Gaza.
With respect, this is not something that has come from Israel. This is the UN Relief and Works Agency, which has said that up to 20 rockets were deposited in a school building inside Gaza. They are furious. The Secretary General of the United Nations has expressed his outrage. He said those responsible are turning schools into potential military targets and endangering the lives of innocent children.
هذا ليس صحيحا.
This is not true. Rocket launchers in Gaza belong to the resistance. They are underground, and Israel is unable to reach them. This is why it pretends they are in civilian areas. Israel is hitting hospitals, mosques, towers and buildings. It committed a massacre in Shuja'iyya, Tufaha district. There is a new massacre in Khuza'a, east of Khan Yunis, that the world has witnessed this morning. This is a butchery in Gaza, and the world is sitting idle, and it blames Hamas.
Welcome to Hard Talk from Qatar with me, Stephen Sackur. My guest today is Khaled Mashal, the political chief of the Palestinian Islamist movement Hamas, which is currently locked in a grim and costly military confrontation with Israel in Gaza. Right now, the pressure on Hamas is immense, military, political and diplomatic. So, is the showdown in Gaza a battle for Hamas's survival? Khaled Mashal, thank you for joining me.
أهلا وسهلا بكم.
More than 700 Palestinians have been killed in this current Gaza conflict. Tens of thousands have fled their homes, and the UN is talking about a humanitarian crisis for those who have been displaced. How long are you prepared to see your Palestinian people suffer like this?
هذه المعاناة والكارثة الإنسانية صنعتها إسرائيل. نحن الضحايا نتمنى أن تتوقف بأسرع ما يمكن. هذه حرب خاضها نتنياهو ضد غزة دون مبرر. نقل أحداث المستوطنين في الضفة الغربية وانتقم من غزة بعد أن نكل بالضفة، وهو تعرض لمزايدات من شركائه في الحكومة الإسرائيلية. فلتجنب الغضب من شركائه ومن الرأي العام الإسرائيلي أراد أن يثأر من غزة وأن يرضي خصومه السياسيين في إسرائيل عبر الدم الفلسطيني.
But I asked you specifically how long you are prepared to see this go on, because you were offered a truce last week. The Egyptian government brokered a deal. The Israelis seemed ready to accept it. You refused. Why?
نحن لم نرفض أي مبادرة ترفع عنا العدوان وترفع عنا الحصار. ما قدم هو وقف إطلاق نار يكرس الحصار بعد ذلك. أهل غزة ضاقوا ذرعا بالحصار بعد 8 سنوات. الحصار على غزة بدون مبرر قتل من أهل غزة أكثر مما قتلت الحروب الماضية. لذلك أهل غزة لهم مطلبان واضحان: أوقفوا العدوان وارفعوا الحصار.